Welcome back to the news at 10. We continue our analysis of the Bayelsa State rerun elections. Joining me now to discuss the figures from the election rerun is data and information analyst Babajide Ogunsowo. Thank you for joining us on the news at 10.
Thank you, Mark.
I know you've been looking at the figures clicking by in the Bayelsa State governorship elections. First of all, and remember the last time you were here, we talked about how much money was spent on the initial elections and then now the rerun. Are you still of the opinion there was too much money spent on one election?
Well, I think so. And I think what has happened is with the declaration of a winner today, I think it does suggest that that move by declaring the winner was because the electoral body is really running out of cash. And it has chosen to go with the option of, if it's running out of cash, even though it has a guidelines or it has a rule that states that if the margin between two contestants is lower than the number of cancelled votes, then that election shouldn't be declared as conclusive. And that's what we saw. The margin between the former Governor Silva and the current Governor Dixon was only 48,146. But the total number of cancelled votes was above 53,000. And in that case, what the law clearly states that INEC follows is that the results or a winner shouldn't be declared. And we then wonder that why did INEC still go ahead to declare a winner despite the difference, despite that the total number of cancelled votes was significantly higher than the margin between Governor Dixon and former Governor Silva?
Yes, that really is a good question. I mean, if you're pointing out these figures now, they're really glaring, you know, as you mentioned them. So why do you think INEC went ahead to announce? You think probably INEC just wanted to be done with these elections, or you think the elections are poorly conducted? Because we're talking about INEC's performance now.
The real thing is, if we look at INEC's performance critically, I think it's been a harvest of sorrow. The main reason why we're here today is because of the Southern Ijol election. And looking at the results that came out today, we still found out that the total number of votes cancelled in Southern Ijol, 39,300, and it's amazing. And you then look at the total number of valid votes, and you then find out that the total number of cancelled votes in Southern Ijol was still significantly higher than the total number of valid votes. And if this is the reason why we had to wait for an election, and then we still have such a performance, then I think it's really been a harvest of sorrow for INEC.
The APC is set to score 10,216 votes. The PDP scored 23,081. Is a difference, you know, a lot more than the last election? And what do you think was responsible for this?
What you just find out is there are a lot of inconsistencies in the results that have been released today. And we've had supplementary elections in 7 local governments. We've had cancelled votes in all local governments except Brass, that the former governor is from, and Sagbama. Ordinarily, you would expect that if there were to be cancelled votes, the cancelled votes will come from the keenly contested areas where these two contestants are from, Brass and Sagbama. But what you find out is in all the results of during the supplementary elections, each local government had cancelled votes except Brass and Sagbama. And that is extremely curious. It makes me remember the case of Charles D.B. King, which was regarded as the most fraudulent election in history in 1927. In an election that had only 15,000 registered voters, Charles D.B. King declared himself winner with over 240,000 votes. It's extremely curious when we see some of the figures that are coming out from this election. Just some months back in April, we had the presidential elections that were keenly contested. The winner of that election, the president, Muhammadu Buhari, in Katsina, out of the 2.62 million PVC holders, you only had on election day a turnout of 55%. This was despite the popularity that the president had. On election day, only 55% of people turned out to vote. And if you look at what had happened to even then the sitting president, President Goodluck, in Bayelsa, out of 548 PVC card holders, only 66% turned out to vote. This time around, we are looking at Brass local government, where the voter turnout during the supplementary elections was 76%. And then you then find out the president, despite all his popularity on election day, was only able to get out 55% of people to vote. And then in one local government, some other person has been able to get 76% of the people out. there are a lot of inconsistencies in the results we see today, but perhaps what makes it the most significant is the dispute that will go on for days to come, which is the total number of council votes at the moment is significantly higher than the margin of victory that the current governor has over the former governor.
Very quickly, your general impressions of the election. You think this was a good end?
I don't think this was a good end, and not because of INEC's performance, but I think over the last few weeks, the focus has moved to the contestants. However, the focus should always remain with the people. And what do I mean? We have Bayelsa, based on the last census report, that clearly states a lot of people are dying young. Only 5% of Bayelsans live up to 60 years old. According to the same last census report, the highest qualification of 51% of Bayelsans is only a primary school certificate result that most Bayelsans have. So there's a lot of need to focus on education. And in both local governments that the governor and the past governor come from, Brass and Sagbama, only 5% of adults living in these local governments are university degree holders. So we need to really take our focus more onto what do the people need and focus less on how do these people win elections.
I guess we'll have to continue conducting elections and keep learning from our mistakes in order to have more free and fair elections.
Surely,
Thank you so much.
but we should put more focus on the people.
Exactly. Thank you, Babajide Ogusawo. We head on now to the Calabar port of the Eastern Naval Command in Cross River State, which has received about 2,000 deportees, including some Nigerians from Gabon. The illegal migrants were deported following issues relating to forged travel documents. In the meantime, the federal government has warned that any vessel which brings non-Nigerian deportees to the country will be denied transit.
A sea of illegal migrants from different ECOWAS. This is one of many arrivals which began on the 22nd of June to the 26th of December 2015. There were so many, some fainted and had to be resuscitated. It is the fifth time Nigeria is playing big brother to these African nationals who have been deported from Gabon following illegalities surrounding their travel documents. In the wake of the fight against insurgency in the northeast, the government has come up with a strong directive as passed across by the Cross River State Command of the Immigration Service, never again to accept deportees other than Nigerians into the country.
Handling of transit passengers is a normal immigration formality for immigration. If not that this deportees is becoming a recurrent thing and the volume is so large that because of the insecurity in the country as we speak, government is becoming uncomfortable with that. Ordinarily, handling transit passengers is a normal immigration job for us to do.
We cannot close our eyes and see this number of people crossing without properly profiling them and getting their data. We must know who they are, where they are coming from, and where they are going. And that is why we insisted that their consuls, their embassies must come and take possession of them so that their embassies are aware. We don't want a situation where people who have questionable characters are passed through our country to another country.
This latest influx of migrants raises concerns of the security situation in the South-South region.
Security, the army, the navy on board, this thing should work tirelessly to make sure that those vessels, that any vessels that are coming into the country, into their states, into their waterways, should be scrutinized to know the kind of people they are bringing in.
Cross River State and Calabar in particular is very safe, and we are not expecting or anticipating any problem.
Some of the deportees, including Nigerians, share the experience and their concerns regarding their deportation, seen by many as the biggest so far.
Some of guys here have their own paper in Gabon. Everybody they bring here, they said after 2 months, they must send that person to his country.
Even if I want to come to Nigeria again, I would not like to enter ship again because all of them suffer.
Citizens of Nigeria, Republic of Benin, Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana, Senegal, Togo and Guinea-Bissau are amongst the West African deportees. The Nigerian government took delivery of immigrants in the months of June, in August, September, October and December 2015. It's left to be seen how the government will manage the influx.
The Imo State Governor Rochester Okorocha has commended the Nigerian Armed Force for their courage and commitment to win the war against terror. The governor gave this commendation at an interdenominational Thanksgiving service held in Owerri, the Imo State capital, to mark the Armed Forces Remembrance Day celebration. Governor Okorocha urged the army to ensure it upholds the call for national unity while securing the nation's territories.
The greatest love that a man can have is that he dies to save his friend. And the greatest love a soldier must have is that he dies to save his nation. Let me salute you, courageous soldiers for keeping the flag of this nation flying amidst difficulties. We appreciate you and we love you. Keep on keeping on. Though all might not be well, but remember, we have a nation to protect. This nation shall one day rise to a height where nations will stare with amazement. Is this Nigeria? Let us not be dismayed. Rather, let us encourage ourselves, even as we celebrate these fallen heroes.
Governor Abdul Fattah Ahmed of Kwara State has empaneled a judicial commission of inquiry to look into the crisis that engulfed the communities of Share and Saragi in Ifelodun and Edu local government areas of the state. Both communities have been involved in communal crisis since the 1970s, but more recently since 2002 when a dispute over their land borders started. Our committee report tonight examines the efforts of the state government to restore peace to the warring communities and the response of the communities to it.
Now you're talking.
This is what is left after the neighboring communities of Share in Ifelodun local government area and Saragi in Edo local government area went to war over a land border dispute in Kwara State. The carnage is extensive as over 35 houses were destroyed. An assessment committee led by the Deputy Governor, Peter Kishira, visits the communities on a damage assessment tour.
Destruction started, and of course this site is Share, while this side is Saraj. This road is just the boundary between the two local governments. So the destruction started from here, sir.
Disturbed by the recurring crisis, the governor of the state summons a meeting of elders from both communities, and this is the outcome.
Whoever says Saragi will not live together with Share will go to hell. Whoever says Share will not live together with Saragi will go to hell.
There was never a time we ever attempted to think of attacking Saragi, and we will never do so. I'm assuring this gathering, I'm assuring the Excellency that there will be no reprisal attack.
Governor Meg does not seem to be taking any chances, however, despite the words of the community leaders. He goes one step further to set up a judicial commission of inquiry, which he says is made up of men and women of integrity. He also sets out their terms of reference.
Investigate and ascertain the immediate and remote causes of the violent communal clash between Share and Saragi. 2. Ascertain the extent of loss and damage to lives and properties following a civil disturbance. 3. Determine the conduct of any persons, group of persons or associations that in any way contributed to the violent clashes.
The chairman of the commission gives the word of his group to do justice and not be biased in discharging their duties.
I want to assure Your Excellency, the Executive Governor of Kwara State, that we shall do everything within God-given power, knowledge and wisdom, not only to justify the confidence imposed in us by Your Excellency and the good people of Kwara State, but to strive to maintain our dignity honor the name.
In an interesting turn of events, however, some members of Sharagi community hold a press conference rejecting the Judicial Commission of Inquiry, saying they have no confidence in it. According to them, there have been 4 different commissions and panels on Share and Sharagi boundary disputes since that of 1976 by Justice Muhammad Nasir, and all the reports were rejected by Share community because they didn't favor them.
For us, if you bring together the parties that are involved in the crisis, let each side tell you its own in the front of the other. And particularly when this is done before the elders, a solution will definitely be to the crisis will be found.
Governor Abdul Fattah Ahmed, who is from Share, now has in his hands an uphill assignment to reassure the people of both communities that he will be fair to all in his search for a lasting solution to the perennial crisis.
Etisala, now you're talking.
Still ahead of the news at 10, Canada's Milos Raonic beats defending champion Roger Federer in straight sets to claim the Brisbane International title. That's on Sports News. Please stay with us.